Jaden from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX comes in a close second to Yugi in terms of popularity among Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists. Absolutely deserved as well. If you look closely, he might even be the most complex protagonist. He starts off like any typical main character. Young, talented, cheerful, and seemingly without any real problems. He never doubts himself, no matter what he does, and his friends can always count on him. What can you say? He simply enjoyed dueling and didn't take it too seriously. In his duel against Crawler, you can see that he just wanted to have fun and get stronger. Despite having to duel a professor to gain admission to the academy, a professor who was likely 100 times better than him, he wasn't scared at all. A strong opponent is never boring after all. And that's exactly what he wanted. The stronger, the better, as you can tell from his reaction to the ancient gear golem. Jaden shares a lot of similarities with many other shonen protagonists. Well, he's very young and consequently quite naive. However, everything changes for him after the Shadow Games as he begins to take the world more seriously. And unlike Yugi, Jaden didn't have a pharaoh by his side to handle everything for him, nor did he have a Joey who would die for his friend. When it came to dueling, Jaden was mostly on his own. Sure, he had Cyrus and Chumli, but they were more of a burden than any real help. In his duel against Kyberman, we as the spectators see for the first time how Jaden develops and where his journey will lead. This is the first time we see a downcast, human Jaden, showing that he isn't so different from Chess or Cyrus. Jaden needs time to process everything around him, and sooner or later this takes a toll on his psyche. But exactly this development is what makes Jaden such a compelling and interesting character. In the beginning, he's an ordinary protagonist with a lot of nonsense in his head and a rosy view of the world, as anyone his age should. Especially as one gets older, Jaden's development and his mental breakdowns become much more relatable. Gradually, you can feel how everything weighs on him. To effectively convey this development to the audience, each season was needed, exactly as it was written. The first season is all about introducing us to Jaden, in which it does an excellent job. We see Jaden's youthful, beautiful and colorful world without problems, and then how it slowly starts to crumble. Season 2 is the critical turning point. Here, Jaden duels with Aster Phoenix, and we all know how that duel ended. After the duel, Jaden not only lost the match, but also the ability to see his cards. Aster's speech compounded this, revealing that not everyone duels just for fun. Up until that moment, Jaden didn't even thought about that people might duel for serious reasons, like Aster, who duels for his deceased father, or later in the series, where duels involve the fate of the entire world. At this point, Jaden realizes that every duel and every action he takes carries consequences, sometimes severe ones. He becomes more and more aware that he could lose his friends if he fails to win a crucial duel. After all, up to that point, they could hardly manage anything on their own, and Jaden constantly has to bail them out. This situation understandably causes enormous stress, especially for someone his age. Because if Jaden can't fix things, who will? As a consequence, he leaves Duel Academy. He steals a tiny boat, heads out into the ocean, and ends up having a full-blown LSD trip where he encounters an alien dolphin. This dolphin shows Jaden how he can find joy in dueling again. Basically, it reminds him why he started in the first place, bringing back the carefree spirit of youth we all had before adulthood, where responsibilities and taxes hit us hard. While the alien dolphin friend helps Jaden embrace his development and the resulting responsibilities, this journey leaves its marks. His friends have become somewhat stronger, and he now has few spirits around him to talk to, which is very important. But fundamentally, he's quite different from Yugi, who always had Artem by his side. Without Artem, Yugi Muto would up until now probably have completely broken down mentally more than once. That's when Jesse comes into play for Jaden's further development. He's more or less a European version of Jaden, but with blue hair. Who doesn't know them? The Europeans. He can see dual spirits, enjoys dueling, is a strong duelist and is self-reliant. This is new and good for Jaden, because here he has a friend who doesn't always rely on him and won't always call for help, but can handle his own damn problems. That's why Jaden gets along so well with him. They are almost like mirror images, at least at the beginning. Later on, it turns out that Jesse doesn't duel just for fun, which is the reason Jaden duels and something he starts to doubt. Jesse duels to help people who can't see duel spirits. When Jaden realizes this, he understands that his "I just want to have fun" attitude might not always be right, especially if even Jesse, who also enjoys dueling, has a deeper reason for doing it. Jaden struggles to accept that something like dueling, which he has enjoyed since he was a child, can be serious. We see this in his duel against Cobra, and it was also hinted at during the Shadow games. Jaden is afraid, and understandably so. At this point, he's maybe 16 years old and has already saved the world and his friends multiple times. When the entire Duel Academy is transported to a parallel universe by Yubel, Jaden's childhood card, and Jesse has to sacrifice himself to save everyone, we witness Jaden's second mental breakdown. He can't and doesn't want to leave Jesse behind. He wants to rescue him and return to their original world. But he can't do it without his friends, who, for the first time, really help him because he can't move forward alone. Here we see again how important Jaden's bond with his friends has become, even with chess. It's meant to show us that this bond, much like the one between Yugi and his main group, cannot be broken. Except in this case, the bond could be broken when his friends receive a sort of curse mark and even blame Jaden just before they, well, die or something. And this all happens because of mistakes Jaden made, which makes him look directly into the abyss. In this world, we see Jaden not giving a damn about anything. He is so fixated on Jesse that he doesn't even notice his friends doubting him. He doesn't even realize, or perhaps doesn't care, that everyone he defeats in duels here probably die. In this arc, Jaden accepts for the first time that he isn't just happy-go-lucky. He has a dark side too, and he embraces it. This brings us to the Supreme King. Now, nothing can stop Jaden from achieving his goal, even if it means killing a few innocents. At this point, Jaden is no longer the Jaden we knew. After then Axel and Jim sacrificed themselves to bring Jaden back, he is completely traumatized. It would actually be strange if he weren't. He has visions of the beings he killed while he was the Supreme King and starts doubting himself. His favorite game has now become the source of almost everything bad in his life. It reminds me of my meeting 2 days for some reason. Moreover, it's the reason for probably more than 1,000 deaths. Jaden can now barely duel without having a breakdown. He can no longer accept his past. But with Yubel still around and Zane having had a fucking heart attack, Jaden has no other choice. Who else can stop her if not him? He must press on, even though he carries tons of problems and tries to ignore them, which, of course, backfires. Jaden has to accept the Supreme King within him and everything he did. Through this, he learns that the world isn't just about happiness and fun, but also harsh realities. He realizes he needs to think before acting. This is his harsh journey to accept the world and transition from a teenager to an adult. It's a journey we all must undergo sooner or later, even though perhaps not as extreme. But you feel the change at a certain point in life, and Jaden in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX embodies this transformation quite well. Now that Jaden has gone through this development, we return to Duel Academy. Here we really feel the change. The happy boy who used to chill with his friends now prefers to be alone in his dark room, hanging around with his duel spirits and his deceased teacher. As Johann Wolfgang von Goethe once said, when you know what's important, you stop being talkative. In this season, Jaden faces the ultimate evil, the very definition of darkness hinted back in season 1. We see each of his friends with future goals but trapped in darkness by Night Road, experiencing nightmares repeatedly until they can no longer endure, reliving their greatest fears over and over again. Now we finally see how strong Jaden has become. The old Jaden from season 1 might have had enough talent to confront Nightroad, but never the strength to defeat him. However, Jaden from Season 4 has grown. He is strong and has accepted the darkness within himself. He looked into the abyss and the abyss looked into him. He conquered his dark side, and instead of letting it go wild again, which definitely can hurt people, he controls it and keeps it as a weapon for good. He no longer is a boy who fears the darkness, but a man who became the darkness to control that power and protect what is important for him. With Yubel by his side, he embarks on a journey to find himself. And then his final duel with Yuki was his revelation. After that duel, Jaden finally found joy in dueling again. He realizes that, while he has to bear all this responsibility for the rest of his life, he can do so with joy and a smile. Instead of being angry about the past or worried about the future and becoming increasingly bitter, he learned to enjoy the present and face whatever comes with happiness. In the end, it's up to us whether we are happy or not. It all takes place in our minds and thoughts. If we can't make ourselves happy, no one else can. As Marcus Aurelius said, our life is what our thoughts make it. Oh, and I don't know about you, but I wish we could learn more about Jaden's journey afterward. And if you want to see Joey's story, feel free to click here. Otherwise, I would really appreciate a thumbs up and a sub. That's how I know that you enjoyed this type of content. But that's it again from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see us next time, so take care, my friends.